Hi there, welcome back to Mysteries Channel. I hope you guys are all holding up out there around the world. Today I'm going to talk about time slips, something that does not occur very often, and when it does occur, the stories are so bizarre that they're hard to believe, and you're just like, that's crazy. I've never known anyone to have had a time slip, but I've heard about them in the past. I mean, it's like time travel, right? Everybody wants to be able to pick another era to go to. It would be so interesting to see or talk to the people that have impressed you over your lifetime, you know what I mean? So what is a time slip? It's an occurrence in which a person or people step from their timeline into another. Sometimes it's into the past, sometimes it's into the future, and sometimes they don't even step into a different timeline. They just transport instantaneously to a different part of the world. Now, these instances have been recorded throughout time. There are very few of them that survive because, I'm sure a lot of people are like, BS, but I thought let's take the time to go over it. Now, a time slip is kind of associated with time travel, but with time travel, typically, if it exists, you would assume there's a machine or something that's propelling you into the past or the future. Time slips just occur. It's just this weird thing that happens. It occurs, and then many times you go back to your regular place, and that's it. Sometimes you don't. The very last one I'm going to give you is one of those where you just ended up where you ended up kind of thing. There are super cool stories out there. I'm not going to go with the most commonly known ones. In fact, you probably may even know the ones I'm talking about because it's not something that I've looked into a lot in my lifetime. But these are ones that I had never heard of before, so they're the ones that I'm going to share. The first one I'm going to share with you happened in 1996. A man, Frank, and his wife, Carol, were in downtown London. I believe it was downtown London, but they were in London, and they were going to go shopping at a place called Central Station. They decided to split up. His wife was going to go to a bookstore named Dillon's, and he was going to go to a place called HMV to look for a CD that he wanted. So 90s, you know what I'm saying? He went shopping, he did his thing, and as he was coming back to meet up with his wife, something super strange happened. He says that he stopped at some point on his way to go meet his wife. He's going up a hill or an incline, and he stops because he felt like he was like in an oasis of quietness, which would be very strange if you're in a huge bustling city like London to just all of a sudden think that there's a lack of sound going on around you, right? And this is something that is reported many times with other time slip stories, that all of a sudden there's either muted noise or a lack of noise altogether. So he's noticing this lack of noise. And as this is happening, a van comes like barreling towards him and narrowly misses him. The van, he realizes it looked like it was from the 1940s or 50s. It said Kaplan's across the side of it. And when he looked down, he realized that he was standing in the middle of the road, which he hadn't been earlier. He just happened to be standing in the middle of the road. He crosses the road towards the bookstore that his wife is at, and he looks at the sign above it, and it says Cripps. And at this point, he's even more confused because when he looks inside the window, there are no books in there. There's clothing, women's clothing. And he's just kind of like looking around him like, what the hell is going on? He started to realize that people were dressed differently in a way that would be more commonly associated with the 1940s or the 1950s. And then he spotted a young girl in her 20s. She had on a lime-colored sleeveless top, and she was carrying a handbag that was a popular brand. And so he kind of focused on her for a minute. She was going into the store, and he follows her in. And as he walks into it, in a flash, everything turns back to books. So he's standing there, now back in what he assumes is his proper timeline, and he's staring at this girl who is still standing there with him, and he lightly taps on the girl's arm, and he's like, "Did you see that?" And she's like, "Yeah, I thought this was a clothes store. I don't even know. It's so weird. This is a bookstore. I thought it was a clothes store." And she turns around and she leaves. He wasn't the only one that shared this weird slip in time or hallucination or whatever it was. So that's one. This one is also pretty interesting. This is my second one. The time slip occurred with a journalist at this point in time. In fact, there were two. Again, there were two witnesses of this happening. Journalist's name is J. Bernard Hutton, and he was with a photographer, and the photographer's name, I believe, is Joachim Brandt. They were sent by a German newspaper to do a story on the Hamburg shipyard in 1932. While they were there, it was a completely uneventful visit until at one point, bombs started raining down upon them. Both of them, Hutton and Brandt, realized they were caught in the middle of an air raid, and they hightailed it out of there, but not before snapping some photos. He was a photographer. this was going to be their damn story. They literally landed in the middle of a story. So they hightail it out of the shipyard. They run their asses off. They get back to Hamburg and they're telling everybody, like, we're under attack. There's an attack. And everyone's like, what the hell are you talking about? Nobody believed their story because obviously people would hear bombs dropping. They would have seen the planes coming to drop the bombs. None of this had occurred with any of them. And they were just like completely dumbfounded. People truly believed they were even crazier because when they did develop the pictures, there was no signs of the air raid at all. Like everything that they witnessed, felt, smelt, heard, the fear that they had, all of it was completely obliterated by the fact that the pictures came back completely normal, like nothing was amiss in them. 11 years later, Hutton was living in London and he opened a newspaper and spit his coffee across the desk. There was a story about Operation Gomorrah, an air raid on Hamburg. The photos attached to this story looked exactly what he had experienced in 1932. Did he somehow jump to the future and experience a horrific event that was getting ready to go down, or as it was going down? Did he just get a glimpse of it? I mean, everybody absolutely thought they were crazy. They gained nothing out of this while this was happening. It's bizarre to say the least, right? It's really coming down out there right now. So this one is super interesting and it reminds me of the time slip with the guy from Torrid. I didn't include it even though it's one of the coolest freaking stories ever told, but everybody knows it. And if you don't, let me know and I could make a video of it, but I suspect everybody knows this one. But this is kind of a similar story. This one occurred in 1850. The man who had the time slip, his name is Jafar Voren. He's found in Frankfurt, Germany, and he's questioned. He spoke very broken German, which made his claims more difficult to understand, but basically he says that he's from a place called Luxaria. So he says he speaks two languages, Luxarian and Abramian. He states that he's searching for his long-lost brother and that his ship was wrecked on the way to his destination. Voren didn't recognize any of the maps or globes that were presented to him. He claimed that the world that he knew had 5 sections: Sakaria, Aflar, Asiar, Asuiar, and Uplar, I think is how you would, who knows how to pronounce this stuff. So, it's basically where this story ends. This guy was taken to Berlin. He was questioned and interrogated. He was studied. And there's no doubt that this man actually existed. It's just one of those weird ass stories where someone ends up showing up, saying something crazy, and that's the end of it. The next one I'm going to present is actually from a famous figure, Carl Jung. Protege of Sigmund Freud, also had his own time slip occur. According to Jung, in the 1930s, while traveling through Italy, he visited the tomb of a Roman empress in Ravenna. While there, he was quite impressed with the artistry in the mosaics in this tomb. The tomb itself, he said it was pristine, it was still beautiful, brand new almost looking, and that the scene that was played out on the mosaic was of a maritime scene, and that everything was done in a very pale blue light. Upon leaving the mausoleum, he tried to purchase some postcards, but there were none to be had. Years later, a friend of his was going to visit Ravenna, and Jung asked him to take pictures for him. And after the friend got back, showed him the pictures, he was completely shocked. Nothing matched up with what he had seen. In fact, the scene on the mosaics was completely different. It wasn't a maritime scene. They didn't look brand new. The colors were completely different. And when he talked to his friend about it, he was like, I was trying to figure it out, but everybody I talked to said that the original mosaic had been destroyed by fire centuries before. Like, nobody knows what you're talking about. I just took pictures of the tomb that you went to, but nobody knows what the hell you're talking about. Bizarre, right? Like, what the heck happened? Did he see another time? Did he slip in just to visually see what once was? We'll never know. Now, the last one is one that is pretty freaking interesting. I think probably the most interesting of all because it's the earliest one recorded, the earliest one I could find. I'm still looking to see. I'm trying to read some stuff from Herodotus to see if he has any time slips in his writings, or even the Dreampool essays to see if he has any weirdness in there, but I haven't found anything yet. So the next one I have, they have the exact date. It actually is recorded on 2 sides of the world in a time when it would take a very long time to travel. So here it is. October 24th, 1593, a soldier is doing his job. He is guarding the palace and awaiting the appointment of the new governor. Why? The old governor had been assassinated the night before. The governor, Gomez Perez das Marinas, had been taken by Chinese pirates and assassinated. This guy's job was to watch the palace. He's awaiting the new governor to come in. When he began to feel dizzy and exhausted, He leaned against the wall. He rested for a second. He closed his eyes. And when he opened his eyes, literally seconds later, he found himself in Mexico City. So he's in Mexico City. Immediately, guards take hold of him because they realize he's wearing the wrong uniform. There's something up with this dude. Better take him in for questioning. He gets brought in. He's questioned. And he's telling him, like, what are you talking about? I'm in the Philippines. I'm waiting for the new governor to show up. My governor, the man that I worked for, was literally assassinated last night. So he gets arrested because they automatically assume this man's a deserter. He's a deserter. They charge him with desertion and also with serving the devil. 1593, people, 1593. So he's in jail for desertion and serving the devil and is probably awaiting his execution, honestly. When months later, the news of the governor's assassination from the Philippines finally reaches Mexico. So what happens? What happens is a galleon from the Philippines reaches Mexico City, and news of the assassination of their governor finally reaches Mexico City. And they're just like, wait a minute, what did you just say? This is what happened. Our governor was taken captive by Chinese pirates. He was assassinated. There's a new governor in place. And they're like, you're never going to believe what happened. We have a deserter in jail who told us of the assassination 2 months ago. And they're like, yes, this happened 2 months ago. They're like, no, you don't understand. The day after the assassination, he is walking on our streets and he tells us of this. The guy on the boat was like, 2 days after the assassination, we set sail and we're here now. Let me see the soldier that you're having. They bring him to the jail. They show him the soldier and the guy says, I saw you. I saw you the night that it happened. They recognized each other. The guy from the ship absolutely corroborates this guy's story. He ends up getting released from jail and that's where it ends. But that is crazy. It is literally documented on two sides of the world. Time slip, people. Anyway, that's my video for today. Sorry, I know I've been not posting as much as usual. It's just harder than I thought it would be. But I will try to continue to make more videos. I hope you guys are all doing great. Please be safe and have yourselves a very great day. Thanks for watching. Oh, also, if you like the content, please share, like, subscribe, do all those fun things. You guys have a good day. Bye.